the May 1st, 2024 meeting of the Harwich Conservation Commission in the Don B. Griffin Room at Harwich Town Hall. This is a hybrid meeting. You may attend the meeting in person by watching on the Harwich channel, which is Channel 8 on cable TV if you want to. Remote participation is also possible. You may find instructions for participating remotely on the agenda, which is published on the Town of Harwich website. So we're going to start with Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. So we're going to start with a notice of intent for 157 Route 28, map 11, parcel S1-A for installation of stormwater infrastructure, repaving a parking lot, and landscaping.
Matt, can you bring that presentation up, please? Thank you.
Good evening. My name is Gemma Kite, Senior Engineer with the Horsley Witten Group, and I'm also joined by my colleague, Amy Ball, Senior Ecologist from Horsley Witten Group, and virtually with April Wobst from the Association to Preserve Cape Cod. Thank you. We were last before the Commission on April 3rd to present on this project. We heard the Commissioner's comments. We have since made some minor adjustments to our plans, resubmitted a couple sheets of our plan set, as well as a letter response to the comments, and I'm here tonight to present our collective response on those comments. Where am I pointing? Okay. Okay. So the first comment that we heard from the Commission was requesting that we modify the design to use more permeable pavers and less bituminous pavement, especially within the 50-foot no disturbance buffer to the salt marsh resource area at the project site. And our response to this is that we have proposed more pavers. The boundary between the permeable pavers and the bituminous pavement has now shifted further north, and we are adding an additional 1,000 square feet of permeable pavers. So it has moved from that red line on the image up there to where that lightly shaded blue area is. The second comment that we heard from the Commission was requesting that we remove yucca. And our response to that is that we have removed yucca from the site, from our proposed planting list, and we have replaced it with increased amounts of native plants, including sea bench sandwort, blackgrass, beach pea, sea lavender, little bluestem, and seaside goldenrod. And you can see those plant counts on the sheet. I believe it's C6. The third comment that we heard was sort of a discussion surrounding further protecting that salt marsh on the southern edge of the parking lot from pedestrian foot traffic as well as vehicular traffic. We had originally proposed a split rail fence on this southern edge of the proposed parking area to help protect this buffer area and this resource area from both pedestrians as well as vehicular traffic. We heard the commissioners, and we have since enhanced a little bit more planting behind the split rail fence to go the entire length of that fence. So again, really trying to create more of a buffer between for the salt marsh area there. And the final comment that we heard during the April 3rd hearing was the Commission was interested in reviewing potential paver products. So our response to that is we have provided a memo that we prepared and submitted to members of the team from the town last year that outlined several different paver products, along with some cost information and different varieties of the products. This is for your information. Just for For everyone's awareness, the applicant, so members of the town, will select a preferred paver performance specifications during the construction design drawing phase. And if this project goes to construction and goes out to bid, the contractor will use any paver product that does meet that paver specification. So hopefully that answers the commissioner's comments, and I will turn it back over to the commission.
Thank you. Amy?
I don't have any comments. I think that they've addressed the 4 points that the commission brought up at their last meeting sufficiently, and I would recommend approval.
Okay, thank you. Wayne?
Yeah, I'll go back to the water main thing. You obviously didn't address that, which I brought up at that meeting. I think this is a wonderful plan, except for that. Down the road, you're gonna have to have them come in and dig a trench right through where all the asphalt is. And they're gonna be putting the spoils on the down gradient side, which when, it'll be on the bricks, some of it. And when they go to backfill, they're gonna have front end loaders, they're gonna scrape over those bricks. The simple solution is to have the water department put the water main in now. And they can cap it off, they don't even have to hook up the gate up on the street, but the main will be under the ground. When construction projects are normally done, I've been in this business for 30 years, you do the deep stuff first, you don't do it afterwards. And, you know, in good conscience, if you're not gonna do that, I can't vote for this. See my tax dollars destroyed, no.
Okay. Jim?
I have no comments, John.
Yeah, I've got one comment, and it's really nothing new. It's just trying to make sure there's safeguards that we don't have any disruption of the salt marsh. And it looks like the design avoids any disruption of present salt marsh. I guess the question for Amy, can we condition this? You know, what could happen is this could be done 2 or 3 years from now, just the way the pace of funding and everything. Can we condition this so that there's no disruption of salt marsh on the footprint of the project?
We can, and if it turns out it's a few years down the road and site conditions have changed, then we could condition it that they would have to come back with a minor revision.
Okay, because I know that there's a lot of salt marsh right up to the boundary of this on a couple different sides. And, you know, if that were to continue to encroach, we might want to scale back the footprint to avoid that impact. So, yeah, as long as we're okay.
Yep, I can put that in.
I think, I share Wayne's concern. I'm not sure how we deal with that as a Conservation Commission. It's, from a practical standpoint, you're right on, but I'm not sure if that's part of this process or not.
Well, it's within the buffer zone of the river, isn't it, the 200 feet?
Yeah, but they're not proposing to touch the water main right now.
Well,
We haven't seen that come forward to the commission yet. For all intents and purposes, the project doesn't exist yet.
Right.
well,
I'm
it's
not-
on,
I-
it's
I-
on this plan. If it wasn't on this plan, I wouldn't have an argument with it, but it shows right there.
Does the main need maintenance? Is there something that has to be done with the main?
Whole
No,
new
like,
one's
once they
going
install
in.
it, they cap off the end, you know, take it outside of the work area and
Yeah.
cap it off, and they actually run it up to Route 28. They wouldn't even have to put the gate in, they could just cap it there until they decide whatever they're gonna do on 28, and then you just tie it in. It's a very, you know, I've put miles of this water pipe in my career, it's not a difficult thing to do.
Yeah, I don't disagree with you. I'm just not sure of the sequence and whether it's our purview at this point.
Personally, I think it is, because it's on the plan. It becomes part of the plan, does it not?
Well, there's no proposal to change it though, right?
To change what?
The water main?
So right now, there is no water main on the site. That is a proposed new project that the town would put forward.
Oh, I see, down the road.
Yeah.
Can I just ask, what serves that function now?
What's that, John?
Is there water going over the Herring River there one way or another?
Oh, yeah, you're down 28, it's hanging underneath the bridge there.
I see, so it's up closer to the road now.
Yes, it runs down underneath the sidewalk.
And this water main is going under the water?
No, well, I don't know what they're planning on doing it, because it doesn't show the bridge or anything, but
Well, it doesn't look like it's going to the bridge, because
no, well, it's running out, it's gonna, I don't, they just stop it right there, I don't know what that is, whether, but it'd be very easy, if they put it in now, they just cap off both ends, the thing is there, do your project on top of it, everything's all fine. Nothing will get destroyed down the road. Simple project.
Okay.
Just that one condition.
Sophia.
I'm satisfied with the changes that you made. I think it looks good.
Okay, so do you have any further response to Mr. Coulson's point?
Yeah, thank you for that. I mean, we completely agree. We would like to see this project that we're proposing here today be done and constructed after any water main work that is being done by the town. We've been, throughout this process, coordinating with the water department and their consultant who's doing this work. But of course, we don't have any idea about their proposed timeline for permitting and construction. We've been told that it was in the near future. So that's why we've come here today to get this through permitting so that we can be ready for construction when we have the available funding.
So this isn't gonna be done right away? This, your project?
Right, as of right now, in April, I'll turn it over to you to help explain this, but right now, we do not have the existing funding in hand to take this from 75% to the construction design plans and then to construction. But April, if you'd like to weigh in on that.
Hi, yeah. We've been working with the USDA Natural Resources Conservation Service in Cape Cod Conservation District, as this is an eligible project for funding under the Cape Cod Water Resource Restoration Project. So we're looking, and they're reviewing this project. So we have follow-up meetings with them to discuss that, but they have not yet put in the federal request to support the final design and construction of this. But, we had funding to get this through permitting, and we're continuing to work with them to secure that funding. So again, we don't have a set time frame yet for the construction of this stormwater
What is
piece
the
either.
estimated cost of this project? I haven't heard any of those numbers.
So right now, at the 75% design level that we have it designed for, our estimated construction cost is about $276,900. $276,900. And that does not include any water main work that is separate.
Amy, do you think there's a way to condition the project so that it doesn't get built before that water main is installed there?
No.
I mean, it
We
seems to
can
me.
put in as a condition that the commission suggests that the water main be put in prior to, it needs approval as well, separately. That's a separate project, but we can make a suggestion, say the commission prefers, this is why it be done first, and this is why, so as to prevent disruption twice of the site. But I don't think there's a way that we can condition it. Again, we're looking at this project, and I understand what you're saying, but from the Wetlands Protection Act and bylaw point of view, we're looking at this project. The other one may come soon, it may not, but that's not part of this project, so we can't really put that in there as it must be done beforehand.
Okay. Do we have any comments from the public? Anyone in the room or online? Are there people online we can't see?
There are, we're having kind of problems with our feed right now.
You say there are people online?
There are, yeah, there's three people online.
Can you see whether there's anyone raising their hand?
Nobody's raising their hand right now.
Are they able to hear us and see us?
They can, yeah, they can. It is not.
Okay, well, I'm not hearing any requests for further comments. Is there any further discussion from the commission? Does anyone care to make a motion?
Yeah, I'd be happy to make a motion, John, but before I make a motion, I would just like to ask Brad, would you like that condition to be part of the motion, or would that be part of the order of conditions?
I think it should be part of the motion.
Okay, then if I could, when I get to that point, if I could defer to you for the wording for that condition?
Sure.
Okay, then I will move that we approve the notice of intent for the town of Harwich, 157 Route 28, map 11, parcel S1-A, conditioned on,
The project should impact no existing salt marsh or future salt marsh that may encroach on the footprint of the project.
okay,
And do we want to add consultation with the conservation agent in the event that salt marsh is found?
Yes.
that would
Sure.
be fine, Brad.
Okay,
Okay, so I accept that condition to my motion.
seconded.
Okay, any further discussion?
Who seconded it? Sorry. Brian.
Brad seconded it.
Thank you.
All those in favor?
Aye. No.
Okay, 4 and 1. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, next we have a notice of intent for 23 David Lane, map 8, parcel N6, to demolish a single-family dwelling and accessory structure and construct a new dwelling, pool, and hardscape.
Good evening.
Good evening.
David Little, sitting, Dave Hawk, standing and handing out a colored copy of the plan that was previously submitted that might help you see what's going on a little bit better. We're representing Tom and Lonnie Cosmer, and on the property, there's a dwelling that was built in 1885 and a cottage that was built in 1930. The property extends approximately 850 feet landward of the dwelling to Nantucket Sound. Resource areas on the site include coastal bank, land subject to coastal storm flowage, and a dune. The delineation of the dune, we had a coastal geologist flag the dune for us. So it's landward of the bottom of the bank, but we're comfortable with where it's located. It's a raise and replace. The two dwellings with the construction of a new dwelling. The footprint of the proposed dwelling is going to be 77 square feet less than the combined footprint of the existing dwelling and the cottage. So we are reducing the overall size of the structure on the site. We have a reduction in coverage of 47 square feet of total lot coverage of 47 square feet in the 0 to 50, and then an increase in coverage of 1,025 square feet in the 50 to 100. I provided you with a sheet with coverage calculations so you could see how I came up with my numbers. We've given you a demolition and construction protocol to accompany the plan. And we also, or I should say Dave Hawk's plan provides mitigation at the required rate for the site. And I know that Dave has had a few conversations with Amy as of late, and we may be looking at tweaking some things, but I'm going to let him speak to his plan first, and then we'll open it up for comments and questions.
Thank you, Dave. For the record, Dave Hawk, nice to see everybody again. Obviously, we've got a lot of beach on this one, and the upland is a little bit smaller up there. With the client's program, what we decided to do, and the drawing that I provided you shows where we are anticipating the mitigation that we provided for. That mitigation, 77% of that's right off the coastal bank, where currently there's nothing that exists there. It ranges from 25 feet to 8 feet in width along that coastal bank as we move from north to south there somewhat. And then the thought was that we have mitigation, obviously native plantings that run toward the north where the property line is to create a little bit more of a wildlife corridor through there. And that's how the 23% of the mitigation ended up in the 50 to 100. So we got 77% of it in the 0 to 50, 23% of it is in the 50 to 100. Our clients would like some terrace areas. We've shown those, basically, there's one terrace located in the back of the house. And to the southern side, you can see another terrace with a grill. They'd also like a modest pool. That pool size is 13 by 16, so we won't be setting any Olympic records in it. It's a very small and modest pool. But the thought is that if we can move that to closer to the 100-foot line and keep things in the front yard and the side yard, that will give us room for our buffers in the rear yard. We're taking down 5 trees. I think we've got 8 trees that we've located on the plan. Again, all the varieties are native. In the front of the house, in the 50 to 100, the beds that encompass what I'm going to call the entry to the house, we're asking for ornamental, non-native, non-invasive plants in that area. So you don't see that. You see that as a plant mass in these beds, and we'd be glad to provide what those would be if the commission allows us to do that, like the typical cake plants like the hydrangeas. Everything else, like I said, in the mitigation areas are all native. We do have details of the patios. They are to be dry set, obviously, and I can hand that out. We didn't have that on this plan, but I can also hand that out that shows the typical sub-base and also the sand leveling course with a paver on top. I did have discussions with Amy this morning, so you know, I'm aware of her conversations, and also in an email, plant types and things. We'd be happy to move things around if you so desire. We went the mitigation route on this, and that's where I'll leave it at this point.
So just finally, I noted the existing conditions in red on the site plan and the proposed conditions in black, so you can see where presently the existing house is 12 feet from the top of the coastal bank. The new house is going to be located 30 feet back. So we are retreating with the structure. We can't retreat all the way. We're doing the best we can. There is an existing Title V septic system that's underneath the driveway with a tank and a pump chamber just north of the dwelling that we are utilizing for this structure. So I think we'll open it up to questions and comments. Thank you.
Thank you. Amy?
Yes, thank you. Upon reviewing the project, there's benefits here in that you're going farther away from the top of the coastal bank from only 12 feet to about 30 feet. You have a small reduction in the 0 to 50 of 47 square feet, but you do have a fairly sizable or increase of hardscape in general in the 50 to 100. When I first looked at this project, I will self-admit that I walked at the top of this property and didn't really look out too much. I kind of focused where the house was. And it wasn't until we looked a little bit closer at it and saw just the extent of the invasion on that coastal bank, on the top of the coastal bank. So my first email to David and David was really about tweaking plant types and moving mitigation areas. Typically, the commission likes to see mitigation, abutting resource areas to thicken that buffer, and not so much on property lines, even though I understand why you proposed what you did. But to me, thickening the line at the top of the bank at this point doesn't make sense because the invasion is so bad with knotweed, privet, multiflora rose, honeysuckle, barberry, bittersweet. Those are just what I saw real quickly. And I sent photos to David Hawk, and I gave you photos on your in your packets here tonight, just of how extensive it is. And to me, anything that you plant as mitigation on the top of that bank is gonna have a really hard time making it, and it's gonna it's gonna be very hard for somebody to maintain that, just because the level of infestation is just that bad. It's coming up out of the staircases. Its majority is bittersweet. I don't know if you've seen, if you were, yeah.
I
So,
noticed the same.
So I'd like to see if it's possible to do a little bit of reduction in some hardscape in the 50 to 100. You have, the masonry terrace out on the water side of the house, and then another masonry terrace on the side, and then some patio area. And I think if there was a reduction there, also reduces your mitigation requirements technically. But, I'd like to see if that can be looked at. I tried not to look at tweaking any of the house, itself, design, and just seeing if there was any hardscape reduction that could further be done. But yeah, I just don't see it as mitigation, because I don't see, if it was planted, how it's actually gonna survive with this level of infestation on this property. So I would be more in favor of seeing a bank restoration, maybe some additional plantings on the top as well, but maybe, this is just me, because I know the commission may feel differently about it, of restoring the bank and having that be the majority of your required mitigation, because I'll pretty much say it, there's nothing good on that bank that I can really see. So it's not stable. And it's heavily invaded with some of the worst things. So it's not providing, other than cover for some critters right now, it's not providing anything, so.
Tell us how you really feel about it, Amy.
Sorry, I didn't,
No, I'm laughing. No, you're absolutely right. And we've already.
I'm not trying to
No,
be harsh
No,
about it.
not at all. We hear you, and I'm not sure Dave has, but after hearing from you, I climbed down the bank and I checked it out, and you're absolutely right.
Yeah.
So I can't disagree with you.
So, in my take, I would almost see a little bit less up top, and I would rather see the efforts focused on the bank. That's kind of what I'm saying. That's where I mean to go with it. But that's me. I think you could have a really nice coastal bank community here. It'll take a little while because the invasion's really bad, but I think you can get there.
Thank you. Sophia?
I fully agree with Amy. I stopped by yesterday and checked it out myself, and I think now is like the perfect time to tackle the issue. It is such a rampant issue. The knotweed is just probably, I don't know, it's like 70% of the greenery down there, and everything beyond that bank is so beautiful and pristine and awesome. So it could be whatever, I don't know, beach plum and stuff that'll really contribute to the ecology. So I just completely agree with her that would be my priority 100%. And I think otherwise, as long as there's no miscanthus or crepe myrtles on them in the mystery area that are like adjacent to becoming invasive, then everything else looks good to me. But yeah, strongly would prefer to see that bank cleaned up.
Brad?
Thank you. First of all, Amy, any history of non-compliance with the structures on the property?
No, it doesn't look like, I'm not sure if the property's been used in quite a while. Everything there is old. And I think a lot of it predates applications. So the brick patios that are there, the set in the ground staircase, they haven't done anything
Right.
to the property.
All right, thank you. So, I agree with Amy's principle. I disagree over whether that's mitigation. For me, invasive plant removal is a landscaping preference, and I think the homeowners in many cases would do this on their own dime no matter what. So For me, I see a project that I'd like to see pull back a little bit more in the 0 to 50, and that, to me, would be true mitigation. So it's only reducing 47 square feet in the 0 to 50 with a lot of new structures in the 50 to 100. It's a really large concrete patio. It's not a permeable paver type of patio, right? It's a
No, it would be a dry set.
dry set, yeah.
Well,
So
we know we need to do
so
that.
that's a really large patio sitting right there. For me, real mitigation would be to, get that 47 square foot number a little bit higher. And I support what Amy's suggesting. I think it has to happen, but I don't feel that's mitigation. I feel that that's a landscaping preference. So, everyone should voice how they feel. But for me, a little more improvement in reductions to 0 to 50 would be important. And the last point I have is on those trees in the back. They're huge, beautiful trees. They're all gonna go, I think, right?
No, not all. There are 5 of them that are going, and the 0 to 50, those are staying. I think we have 3 of them. Yeah.
The big,
Yeah,
that big one is staying.
That one's staying?
That-
Okay,
yes.
I couldn't tell.
It's,
2 others.
that's
are,
spectacular, yeah.
Yeah. And I don't think we have any different mitigation considerations for types of plants, do we? Like a tree versus shrubs. It's really just square footage.
Well, it depends on the site and what the site, when I look at a mitigation plan, which I didn't spend, once I realized what was on the site a little bit more, I didn't spend a whole lot of time looking through it, but it's a mix, and I would like, that's what's there now, and I'd like to see a mix, so we do have say. To me, we're not there yet.
There's some beauties in the back. It'd be nice to have a couple of those stay or mitigate for those losses. So that's it. I think, pulling back 30 feet is where the house goes back from 12, but the patio is, I think, 23. So, if there's any way to find some improvement in that number of reduction, 0 to 50, that's what I would look for. And I'm not discounting the value of the invasive plant removal at all. I just don't know if that really qualifies as mitigation in this case.
All set?
No additional comments, Jeff?
I think it's been pretty well covered. I don't have anything to add.
Okay, I was out there with Amy, and I agree, it's a complete mess. It really is. And I get Brad's point, except as Amy said, whatever you plant there is gonna be compromised immediately, because, the knotweed is horrendous there. It really is bad, and I don't know how quickly it would take over otherwise, but it probably hasn't taken over on the upland part because it's been mowed. I don't know, but I would think anyway, whoever builds a house here wouldn't really want to emphasize any lawn at all, because you're not gonna be able to treat the lawn at all, and it's not gonna do very well. I would think the owner would want to do as much plantings as possible. And I also agree that the lot as a whole is 2 acres or something, but most of that is dune. If you look at the coverage of the upland part of the lot, it's strikingly large. You probably didn't calculate the coverage of just everything landward up the top of the bank.
Well, I did provide, Mr. Ketchum, I did provide you with 11 by 17 coverage calculations, so what
Does it
exists,
answer that question?
what
How much?
exists now versus what is proposed, but I think we hear your comments, and I think we need to speak to the owners and then see what we can do and come back.
So, just to sum up, I personally think we should be requiring invasive removal, because anything else, and whether that substitutes for other kinds of mitigation or not, I guess we can talk about, but I don't think we need to even resolve that right now, because you're gonna need to come back with something, but I would not agree that this project could go forward without a very concrete plan for removing all that invasive stuff.
If I may, so I did meet with Amy quite a while ago, just to discuss rebuilding and moving back on the lot with a new house, just to see what it's like with the commission now, because I don't appear before you that often. And she did mention to me that you want to see mitigation in the way of plantings generally, and not in the way of invasive plant removal. She kind of said that, and so I took that back, and the clients thought, well, we won't deal with invasive plant removal, but they hired Dave Hawk to come in with the mitigation plantings. But here we are. I get it completely, and what will be necessary is to get an environmental consultant on board, which we can do. It's not going to happen quickly, but I can say that, well, you might not want to give the restoration of this bank much credence. It's not an inexpensive thing for someone to do. I would hope that if the clients do retain a consultant, an environmental consultant to do that, they'd be given some credit for that, because one, it's not expensive, and two, it takes a long time to get rid of knotweed. You just don't go in and cut and wipe it once and come back and plant. It takes 3 to 4 years to turn something like this into a restored area. So all I'm asking, I get what you're saying, but I would respectfully request that if we do come back with something like that, that the applicants would be given credit for it, that's all.
If I can offer a thought to that?
Please do.
So I think sometimes we see proposals to get rid of all kinds of invasive plants, and that whole square footage of that bank is requested for mitigation, and I don't think that's appropriate. But in this case, you're probably gonna plant a lot where you remove the invasives. I don't see any reason why the new plants that come in, that square footage of the new plants can't be part of the mitigation package. Does that make sense? Instead of saying the whole bank that has invasives, that square footage, that often is.
Oh, I understand, yeah, I understand. And
Yes.
what I had mentioned is like, not, commission doesn't always view invasive removal as, or not everybody does. I get what you're saying. Don't use the whole number as part of the ratio,
Right.
but,
The plants that replace that.
Yeah.
That I could view that. Native plants in that area that gives up either lawn or gives up what was there before, that can be part of the equation. But I also do feel, at least for my vote, some increase in that reduction 0 to 50 is important as well.
I'll also say that this is an unusual one, because usually you're right. I mean, usually the invasive removal it's an important part of it, but the mitigation usually takes precedent over that. And we have been to other boards where they've allowed us on the backside, in between the top of the bank and the mitigation, to do a small maintenance path to keep that stuff at bay. This is not saying that there aren't invasives on that slope, because yes, I agree, it's obvious that we do have that condition out there. I think you'll see, and I think it's 110 feet across, that to go in there and do the removal that we need to, it's gonna be a lot of square footage, so some direction would be helpful. I know that this is our initial meeting, but I think we have some things to explore. It would be nice to understand that. Obviously, we've got some things that we need to talk to people about, as far as the invasive removal. So if that's an option, I guess we'll explore it. Otherwise, there are other ways, if you wish, that we can keep, the bulk of the mitigation up top.
Can I say I don't know if this will be practically a helpful comment, but I feel sort of like half and half. I do think that removing the invasives is a bonus. It's something that will increase the ecological, productivity of that area. But, and I also feel like I don't know how much credit it's worth also, because there's part of me that's like, if you opt to buy or whatever, have a house in a zone that's ecologically sensitive, I think you have a responsibility to, take care of that land the way that it should be taken care of, which is just, respecting the native plants that should be there and getting rid of things that shouldn't be there. So for me, it's a little bit of a half and half. And then one other thing I'm glad that John mentioned, the lawn, just for consideration, not really for anything to change. The options of adding a clover in and maybe a fine fescue might be helpful for something that's going to be super low input if they want it still to look a little bit green, but they can't give it any juice. So,
I mean, that's a good point. We certainly could, suggest something like that. Obviously, it's going to be a Cape Cod lawn. It's going to be drought tolerant, et cetera. And, you do want the ability to migrate around the house. And just to put a scale on it, I think we're 16 feet, 15. It's not like we're going to hold a football game back there or anything like that. So it's from me to you of a native Cape Cod lawn. And certainly the Black Beauty or whatever with the micro clover is a great solution for that.
So,
Okay.
can I ask what's your meeting schedule in June, Amy? I mean, this isn't something we can turn around in a couple of weeks.
Understood. So if you have, this is your first step. You have an 1800s house. I don't think you've applied for a demo or any of that yet. You're gonna have to go to historic and
Bill
everything.
Kroll is working on that.
So, I'm not up on, so we'll be meeting, it's the 5th or the 19th in June.
I'm going to be visiting my son in California on the 5th, so could we do the 19th? Because I think Dave and I could probably come back with something if it was just the upland portion, but to get a environmental consultant on board, it's going to take a little time for us to do that.
And I'm happy to meet you out there with them and we can discuss too, if that's of any help. So June 19th.
You okay with that? Is that pushing it out too much?
Well, in the event,
You can come the first week in June. I'm not going to be able to attend. We can get by with one, Dave, instead of two.
Well, that might make it easier on the commission, but anyway, we could do that, and as we progress, if we see that we're not going to be able to make that, would it be?
Okay, well, let's try for
know.
the 6th,
The 5th?
the 5th.
Yeah, that's fine. And if you
June.
are running up against it, then you just ask for a continuance.
Okay.
We understand that you have to bring somebody on for this.
You answer a simple question, just out of curiosity. The thing that's labeled a solar panel to be removed, what sort of solar panel is that? It looked like maybe it was for hot water, but I didn't see anything in the thing that,
I think it was like one of those old hot water ones, yeah. It's obviously it doesn't work. It needs to be
Yeah,
removed.
I wondered if it ever did. Certainly it's choked with bittersweet
Right.
now.
Yeah.
It made me think, had anybody ever watched the show Lost a while ago?
Oh, yeah.
The hatch.
Oh.
Made me think-
Yes, it was kind of a unique find. When
Yeah.
when we said, oh, my goodness, what's that? So,
Well,
that will
I
be
think
retired, we can tell you that much.
We hear you loud and clear. I think we can hopefully come back with something that will work.
Thank you.
Okay, great.
Okay, I'll move that we continue the public hearing on the notice of intent for 23 David Lane, map 8, parcel N6, to our meeting of June 5th, 2024.
I'll second that motion.
Discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
5-0.
Thanks for your time.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Late evening tonight, don't you?
You want to stay for discussion about the Bell's Neck Land Management Plan? That might take a little while.
Okay, so next we have 3 orders of conditions, starting with an order of conditions for 0 Pleasant Lake Avenue, map 100, parcel K4-3, SE 32-2555, or seasonal dock. Do we have discussion?
I have nothing.
Anybody need more time?
Me.
Okay, can we have a motion?
Sure, I'll move that we close the public hearing and authorize the issuing of an order of conditions for 6 Pleasant Lake Avenue, map 100, parcel K4-3, SE 32-2555.
Second.
Okay, just comment that 0 Pleasant Lake Ave, not 6.
Oh, okay, I'm sorry.
Okay. Discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Okay, next we have an order of conditions for 3 Bluebird Lane, map 73, parcel H227, SE 32-2561 for landscape restoration. Again, comments, need for time?
No comment.
Comments on that one?
Okay.
Okay, hearing no comments, I'll move that we close the public hearing and authorize the issuance of an order of conditions for 3 Bluebird Lane, map 73, parcel H227, SE 32-2561.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
And then we have an order of conditions for 141 Bank Street, map 23, parcel R5, SE 32-2560 for the construction of a 2-car garage. Again, comments, questions, need for time?
Okay, hearing none, I'll move that we close the public hearing and authorize the issuance of an order of conditions for 141 Bank Street, map 23, parcel R5, SE 32-2560.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Okay, 5-0, thank you. So now, we have discussion and possible vote on the Bell's Neck Land Management Plan. Amy, do you want to start this off?
Sure. What you had in your packets was what I put in your Dropbox, and what we tried to do is, after our last meeting, apologize, I did not see that email prior to that last meeting, and believe me, I didn't want to recreate the wheel, that was not my attempt. So since that last meeting, got that documentation from Brad and John and tried to marry it together. And then in addition to that, the appendices are done, I just didn't print them out, but Appendix 1 I did print out, and that's the water flow management plan. And I believe on your table tonight, I think I left you a copy of one that looks like it has some yellow on it, and it's to replace the appendix that was in the back, the last page of your printed packet that I gave you. So the major, I'm not sure how you want to do it. I mean, most of the work occurred in sections 5 and 6 in the land management plan. I feel like the rest of the document was pretty well vetted. So I'm not sure if you want to go through the whole thing, or if we just want to start with section 5. Is that good with everybody? So,
Good, yeah.
unless there are people who had other comments who haven't made them before on the previous sections. I really didn't, I added to section 5, I wanted to make it clear that this contains original goals from 2012 and updates on those action items since that time up until April of this year, because when you read through it, it's a little, there's the original goals and then how we've met them or not quite met them yet. Really, does anybody have any questions on those?
Brad, did you have points you wanted to make about things in here?
You know, I've done a lot of talking, so I'd rather have other people talk, but at the same time, I did review this last document. Unfortunately, I reviewed it as a paper copy, and I put my edits into the last copy that I sent you and John today.
Oh,
But to me, they're all minor edits.
okay,
So I think
Yep.
whatever you, because I noticed in the Dropbox, it is a Word document.
it is.
So if you want, I can go back and put my edits there. I sent those to you, John, as well today, and, you know, I don't even think we need to go over them. They're just minor wordsmithing.
Okay, as
Yeah.
long as if it's not substantive, if it's wordsmithing, then
Yeah.
that's easy.
There's a couple of cases where I think the former document language made it through several rounds of us all reviewing it, and it's a little confusing because it's kind of old news. And so I made some edits in that regard to identify that, yes, it was the 2012 BSC group report. But to me, it's all minor edits, and then when you get to 5, I think you did a great job, Amy, of just bringing those latest drafts together.
I didn't want to discount I didn't want to eliminate what they put in 2012 and what the commission voted there, but I tried to make it clear the differences and, you know, the updates. She
Yeah.
made it a little bit, to me, disjointed in reading it,
Yeah,
but hopefully it's understandable.
yeah. It's up to you, John, if you want me to go over.
Well, so, just one of the things that sticks out to me, just because I was noticing this for other reasons, is, you know, Section 8, which you pointed out, management of East Reservoir. I don't, and you're asking a question to Wayne, actually, about this. Is there any water control, is there any reason to have a section addressing East Reservoir in here, since it's...
Yeah, there's really nothing, it's just,
There's nothing there anyway,
No.
and shouldn't that just be struck, or is there?
I mean, one thing I thought of that we could put in there, the East Reservoir is heavily colonized with Phragmites.
Oh,
It's
okay.
not one of those that we're gonna be able to tackle.
Right.
The invasion's just gotten that bad, that there's just no way. But it doesn't bear mention that that's the current state of it. There is, so if you park on the north side of the North Road of the bridge, the pedestrian bridge on North Road, and you walk northeast, there's a trail there. and you can walk out towards the dike. I stopped mowing and cutting all of that. There used to be a trail out there, and we had a fire out there probably 5, 6 years ago. Around that time, I stopped cutting it because the poison ivy was so bad that I got it so bad, all my volunteers got it so bad. And the trail itself is submerged almost continually at high tide, so it didn't seem like a worthwhile, it wasn't a mapped trail either, it was more of a social trail that people had been using. So we kind of abandoned that, but there is an old, very low earthen berm that gets overtopped there. So if you want me to add a little bit of that language about the current condition, I can.
And then just say, there are no plans.
There's
to
no plans.
Attempt to address this.
Mm-hmm.
There is a culvert there. I just wasn't, that language, or that section goes back a lot of drafts, because it was a placeholder in case there was some operation to do with that culvert,
Culvert where?
separating the two reservoirs.
Is there?
think
I thought it was just a berm, a low berm.
Someone told me there was some water control there,
I think at one time there was between the East Reservoir and the going under the road.
but not anymore.
I don't think so. I think it's plugged up.
Yeah, okay, if there isn't,
When I was a kid fishing up there, I remember seeing it, there was that little, there's like a little hole, like cove, like a little tiny one. I think it was right there, if I remember correctly.
okay,
That was quite some time ago.
well, that makes it easy for that.
Yeah.
I can just add 2 sentences with current status, or with
Yeah.
current conditions.
That was one of my edits from today. The only thing of substance that I put in that was more of a comment was the, number 3 and number 8 discuss the parking lot and the gate. And I think we should have some discussion on the gate again, because
Number 8 where, though?
in the, future goals,
We're,
So we're going
so
to
we're done
section
with
6.
section 5. So you're down to section 6 now. Let's see, just make sure nobody else
Questions on
has
5?
anything to say about section
Sure.
5?
yeah.
No, I know, John.
Okay,
And again, I had my minor edits in 5, which I
yeah,
sent
Yeah.
in today.
okay.
So for 6, before we get into the individual goals, can I just preface it with something? So it says it here in the document, but I think we should group them into 2 categories. One category for action items that require little to no permitting. If at most an admin review, no cost, and can be done by staff and volunteers. Category 2 would be items that funds are not budgeted for in our annual departmental budget, require permitting higher than an admin review, and would require a lot of staff, volunteer time, or hiring outside companies. So and then my thought is within each of those categories that you prioritize, because it would better direct me as your staff person as well as future commissions. What are your priorities within those categories? So category, what do you think about that, first of all? Okay.
That's good.
I agree that it's a good idea.
So, can we do the category 1 ones first?
Let's,
So for category 1, it would be, the first one I had was item number 2, which was the naturalizing of the Depot Street cranberry bogs. The commission voted in 2020 to naturalize that. The southern bog allowed to naturalize to wetland with active plant management, and that would just be manual removal if we had to. Northern bog would be transitioned to upland forest. It's already doing that. Eastern section of the middle bog. So these are all, basically it's only manual management of the invasives in that. There's another goal where it talks about invasive management of the Phragmites in there. We're already kind of doing item number 2, just as is. So if there's, unless there's any desire to change what the commission voted on in 2020. No? Okay.
I would say maybe tuck in Wayne's idea if people agree on the blueberries. Is that,
We
Yeah.
could, that would potentially bump it up to a different category because of cost or something, or more staff time, but that, we could add that.
yeah.
Okay. Number 5 is another low-hanging fruit, which is finger trail management. There's fewer now than there were before. I do feel like some of the widths of some of the trails, or especially the trails that are kind of near the water, like the areas, people are expanding the landing areas near the water. This is stuff that can be done with symbolic fencing, boulders, down trees. Problem is with down trees, people just move them quite easily. So that's a pretty low-hanging fruit. Most of all of that work can be completed by the town staff and volunteers for that. And there's 1 or 2 areas in particular that I'm thinking of that that could be reduced in width. Anything on that one? All right, number 6, increase buffer zones. The width of trails to be minimized. This is kind of similar to number 5 in a way. There are some areas where the trails are just too wide. We have installed boulders. We're not really having issues too much in the Bell's Neck right now with any ORV use. I'd like to think that the boulders and the fencing, the heavy-duty fencing that we've used, has prohibited that. People used to just drive in with their cars, never mind off-road vehicles, just regular old cars. They used to drive pretty much through the area I remember when I first got here, so there's been improvement. And number 8, vernal pools. This is something that we could look into. We're out of the optimal time to study a vernal pool this year. You really want to do it in March. So there is one potential vernal pool north of the large working bog, and I have a map of where it is. It's on the north side of the reservoir. And if you wanted me to have that certified next year, we could certainly do that.
So which side of the bike path?
South of the bike trail, but on the north side of the reservoir. And on the east side of the river, if you will. It's questionable to me because on a high water year, it floods from the reservoir, so I don't think it's
Oh, really?
always, and then if that happens, then you get predators that can, fish that can get in there. So I'm not 100% sold that it's a vernal pool all the time. But we can check it out. It'll be fun.
So this is a state thing, that is it DEP who would?
Natural heritage, so I could go out and take the samples. You look for egg masses, fairy shrimp. There's like 3 or 4 signature species that you look for in March-ish timeframe. And you document it, you have to take photos, I have to do logs. I've done them before, a while ago, but I've done them. And you submit it to the state, and they take a look at your information, and they'll certify it.
And
Or
they
not.
just need 1 season's worth of?
Mhm.
Okay. Sounds like a worthwhile thing to do.
That'd be cool to have it,
Yeah,
have a vernal pool right there.
so
Can you make one if there isn't one?
I fill a wetland to make it, no. So I'll let you know, my primary goal, I think, would be item 6, if out of all of those, the low-hanging fruit ones, which is the increased buffer zones at the trails. I do think that some areas have just gotten overused and are wider than they really need to be. Particularly when you cross the herring run at the ladder and you go into the woods, and instead of veering off to the right, you go straight. There's this big area that's become a gathering spot, a lot of dog usage there, and it's this big sandy bowl, and it goes right into the pond, and you have like an outwash plane there going into the pond. Just want to promote and allow use, but it's kind of gotten, I mean, it's got to be almost the size of this room by now.
I'm sorry, where is this?
Cross the herring ladder off Depot Street.
Yeah,
Go straight in. Instead, there's a trail that goes to the right that goes along the saltwater part of the river, but you go straight, and you can see it where the fork is, and it's this big bowl. And I'd like to bring in some, drop some trees. I don't think we need to drop any. I think there's enough deadwood there. Gradually kind of just block an area off and let it naturalize over time,
just,
while still allowing plenty of access.
I'm looking at this on Google Earth, and there's an area that looks like it has ditches in it,
No,
like it's a
that's the
former
old
bog.
bog. Keep going this way.
It's across the Fishway, right?
It's right here.
Oh, just right there,
It's right
I
there.
see, okay.
Yeah.
I see.
Yeah, it's right.
Okay. Anybody have any comments or objections to that?
I like the way she's laid it out. If it was just up to me, I'd probably put the naturalization as the first, but I got no problem that being second.
Either one.
Yeah, those,
We're kind of already doing the naturalization,
Right.
so
but it's a big deal. It's kind of a high-profile
it is.
change.
It requires ongoing attention.
Well, then I would put it first too.
But I'm, honestly, with the way you've laid these things out right here, I think I have no problem with it. Those are 1 and 2, and folks can see how they feel about it.
Looks good to me.
Okay.
All right, now on to the ones that are gonna cost us time and money. Let's see, Category 2 goals. First one, number 1, reconstruction of the West Reservoir Dam in Fishway. So this one, we had a dam report done a couple of years ago. It showed that it's still functional, but it will be in some need of repair or replacement. Some of the other action items kind of hinge upon this one, such as the moving of the parking lots potentially, and the fish ladder and all that. So this local, state, and federal permitting would be needed. We don't know a cost for design, permitting, and construction at this time. I think it's not exactly clear to me how much of a imminent need this is. I think we need to start planning for it now and not let it go any farther. So I think in that respect, because these things take time, that it's an urgent thing to start thinking about.
Just physically, what is involved, would be involved in replacing the dam?
It's a big,
Big project.
Very disruptive.
it's a big
I mean,
project.
you
Literally
think it
replacing the whole, putting in, stuff
Does
to
it
hold it
entail-
back.
Draining the reservoir?
Shouldn't, you could do it with driving sheets down and
They could
Blocking
drive
it off with
temporary
steel.
sheets,
steel sheathing and then do the work and then pull the sheathing out.
yeah,
Coffer dam, it's called.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You could revisit the whole concept. You could put in a nature-like fishway that kayaks could go through. You could really do
Who
something.
Fishway?
They call it a nature-like. and,
Nature-like.
Right now, it's a concrete form fishway that works really well, but it's slowly degrading.
yeah.
And I would say that within 10 years, you want to address that. But you could put in something that looks really historic, nature-like, and could possibly pass kayaks. So,
People would love that.
yeah, and then you could give some ADA access to the other side. So it's a big picture project. It's not inexpensive, but there's some big federal partners around that will pay for the feasibility and then pay for 75% of the construction. So it's worth, I think, being profiled here.
Yeah,
So it is on the horizon because it is a fish passage project, it rises it to the top for consideration for Natural Resource Conservation Service funding. So we have applied for, basically from the dam, we've applied for funds for study, basically from the dam all the way up to Long Pond for fish passage there. That includes the flume, the fishway, the dam, everything all the way up. It's gonna be a big ticket item. So we have applied for that NRCS funding just for the simple study, which will take at minimum, I would think, a year. But NRCS was very excited about it. They fund 100% of that. Why not?
Yeah.
Would that include cleaning out all the trash growth, basically, between the railroad bed and all the way up
I
to
have
the end Main Street?
specifically mentioned that.
Yeah, that's
To
good.
look at not just
Yeah.
physical, not just look at man-made barriers or earthen barriers, but to look at vegetative barriers and things like that that are a hindrance to passage.
That's good.
So I won't know for a while about what happens with that if we get study funding, but
Is that something that will be announced this year?
I'm hoping it should.
Or is it a rolling sort of thing? They don't have like a specific timetable?
No, there was a deadline. The deadline just passed for submittal. I don't know when selection is.
I see.
It's a lot, so, but it's also one of the biggest fish runs in the state.
Right.
And they were, I mean, I could say that the local officials here with Cape Cod Conservation District, and NRCS were very excited about the possibility of it. So they were very happy that Harwich is looking at it as not just the fish passage issue, but a watershed improvement issue. So we'll see. I'll let you know. Believe me, if we get it, you'll hear from me ASAP.
And there's other avenues too. You know, our agents, the Division of Marine Fisheries, who I work for, maintains a priority list that has 490 sites in the state, and it signs priority rankings. And for Cape Cod, maybe I'm biased because I'm involved with this, but this one is almost the top.
Wow,
So,
that's good.
yeah, it's a large, really large herring run, and that site could really be enhanced. So I think there's gonna be opportunities in the next 5 years or so to fund this, and so I think it's really great that we're highlighting it here in this plan.
Okay, so the next big ticket item is the Bell's Neck parking area. This kind of hinges upon, Bell's Neck Road parking area. I apologize. This doesn't hinge. This is the parking lot on Bell's Neck Road. That's well within the 100-foot, it's in the 50-foot buffer to the east reservoir, as well as the 100-foot buffer to the west reservoir, and drains towards the east reservoir. This parking should be abandoned and restored, and the parking lot moved up north up the street. So this would actually not, I think I'm incorrect. This does not need approval from Natural Heritage, I don't believe, because they recently redid the maps, and I was kind of surprised to see only a very small section. It's really the bogs that are mapped as priority habitat now, whereas the entirety of the Bell's Neck used to be mapped priority habitat, and it's not anymore. So I can check on that, but we would need a certified site plan. Estimated cost, I ballparked, based on what I've been seeing, costs for site plans, $4,000. Town staff could do the application. The fees for the local fees internally would be waived. There might be, I put $1,000 in just to kind of cover our bases. and I don't know why I put this might make sense to do, I think I was reading the wrong section, so disregard, it does not have to deal with the West Reservoir Dam, because this is on Bell's Neck Road.
I made that same mistake in my comments.
Yeah.
It's Bell's Neck Road, it's not
Yeah.
Bell's Neck Road.
So that one, I feel like that one's a much easier, it's attainable one potentially, but it's more than just go out there with a few volunteers and do it. So. Then, what did I say? Number 4, improvements to Bell's Neck Road. We should spend some time on this one. Bell's Neck Road really needs some help. It's low-lying in a lot of areas. There's really there's no drainage. It just free drains to wherever it can, which is the low point, and usually typically right into the waterway. I think this, to me, is a very high priority for the town, not just this department, but for the town to look at. The road needs to be raised, bermed, drainage, appropriate drainage needs to be installed. It is, sorry.
I agree, and this does reflect language from Mark Coleman, who feels strongly about these points, and so I'm fine with the bullet as it is.
This road is is one of the low-lying roads in the low-lying roads study, so hopefully it's gonna be getting some attention. But
Attention, meaning funding? Are there potential funding sources?
I don't know, I'd have to talk with DPW, but they were working with, DPW had retained Ty and Bond to do, I think it was Ty and Bond, the low-lying road study, as well as they were working with the Cape Cod Commission. So they've prioritized the low-lying road areas, North Road being one, this being another, corner of 28 and Bay Road in East Harwich being another, that flood routinely in storm events. Where it goes from now, I'm not sure. They had public comments about it. So I can touch base with Link, but this ranks pretty high on my priority list,
Right,
so.
makes sense.
Then number 7 is invasive species management. This is another, it's only gonna get worse, I hate to say it. It's talking primarily about the Phragmites in the in the bog areas. Manual removal is really not effective for Phragmites, especially to a level, it's not so far off that we can't tackle it in the bogs, and I think we need to act and tackle it and look for funding mechanisms for that. The previous quote for work in 2020 was roughly 20 grand. Costs would be higher now. Permitting, I don't think we would necessarily need a site plan for it, but we would need heritage approval for this one, because that is a mapped area, so permitting costs would be about $500, so that would be something, if you directed me to, I could reach back out to qualified firms and get quotes for removal, revised quotes for removal, treatment of the frag. Would you like me to do that?
That sounds good.
What kind of treatment?
Probably be a cut and wipe glyphosate treatment. This one, it's hard here because everybody that I've had out in the past, I had a few people out and all but one didn't even want to give a quote, because frag, when it grows in really dense stands, is a lot easier to treat, so you can cut it all at one height and wipe it. But this frag is like, there's one here, there's one here, there's one here, and it's a huge amount, but in a big area. So it's going to be more time consuming than just rolling the stuff on it, like when you have a really heavy infestation, but we don't want to get it that bad, so. can try again,
Yeah.
because I just don't wanna see it take over those bugs. I know you guys don't either, so. Okay. One more, and then we can talk if you guys have any suggestion as to prioritizing for these. And number 9, which is West Reservoir Access Management. This is the gate, Brad. Would you like to talk about the gate?
Yeah, sure, and I was mistaken by saying number 3 involved the gate, because it's Bell's Neck Road. It's really just number 9. And I like the language just the way it is, although it occurred to me recently that should we discuss the possibility of having a gate closer to where the pump house is? We haven't talked about that a lot. We've talked about a gate at the street where the gate is presently, and it was a little problematic because someone would have to open that and close it with every day and then flush people out of the Fishway parking area. So is it an option to put a gate at where the road constricts?
I would almost say right at the hillside.
Yeah.
Yeah,
'Cause-
why not?
'cause I
Because that's
think-
what you want to prohibit.
I think so. There'll be a vote on having a herring harvest for next year. I can't say where the vote's gonna go, but it could be possible. And if you do that, you have to have a gate somewhere. And the gate at the street is tricky because someone's gotta open that, whether it's electronic or not. And if you had a gate near that constriction, you could still, the DNR would have keys, you'd have keys, there'd be people in
People
town
could
that have
still go and
keys.
park and walk the bog perimeters, or you could, the only thing is you park there, you still could go and get, like, you could easily walk
You
and
could
get.
walk a bucket, yeah.
Yeah, that's a quick,
But if you have cameras and say you have a couple harvest days, and on the non-harvest days, you have a little more attention there.
yeah.
I think there's something that could be done, but either way, I think it was worth bringing it up. Do we want to keep that language the way it is? Do we want to introduce having an option of having a gate in 2 places? It's worth having people chime in on that, because we didn't discuss that before. We just discussed
No.
the gate on the street.
I personally like the idea of the gate farther in once you pass the bogs on either side of you, right as you pass, right before you go up the hill, somewhere in there. Because I think it allows people to continue, to park and still enjoy the area,
Yep.
should they want to. And,
And you could give access to handicapped folks, you could have the town
Right.
do that. You could give access on herring harvest days if they come to be. There's things you could do, but that might be a long-term goal, just because, we had some resistance. We voted to close the gate like 3 or 4 years ago.
Yeah.
We just really couldn't get town staff on board fully to have a morning opening every day and an
Yeah.
evening closing.
Yeah.
It's tricky. You'd have to flush people out of there, so you wouldn't have to worry about that. If there were cars parking, inside of that inside gate, that's fine. You could let them stay there.
so we do have about $12,000 left in community preservation funds. When we applied for community preservation funds, the gate was one of the big ticket items that was in that application. So we have the money to do it. CPC has indicated that we really need to use the rest of that money this year.
Yeah. Here's another thought for people to consider. We've got to bring this to a public hearing. And is that an item maybe that you vet it in the public hearing? Gate on the street, gate on the inside. People will be very vocal about this gate issue, I think.
And I can make some visuals to describe
Yeah.
where.
So maybe the language we choose today includes an option. Because we just haven't talked about it before tonight. I think I kind of favor the inside gate, but I also think it's something to have the public comment on.
Definitely.
And other departments too, if it's a street gate, then I think the police department and maybe Department of Natural Resources needs to be involved in that. And that's a process.
Mm-hmm.
Electronic gates, they can work, they can also fail, and, people can be inside when they close, and it can work, but, yeah, I'm not sure how people feel about that.
So I don't understand how moving it in solves the problem of walking people in. I mean, if you have it, I mean, I think this is where you're talking about, right there.
Yes, yep.
So, but people are drawn down the fish ladder, and if there are people in there, you know, at 8 o'clock at night, or whenever it is you're closing it, they're in there, and you either have to tell them to leave.
Well, they can't drive in there with the gate. They would be,
Well, if they're already in
gate-
there and the gate closes, they could,
But-
yeah.
I think you're moving towards really limiting vehicle access, and I think you're,
So it's actually, you almost never allow vehicle access in there. You open it at specific times, like on a harvest day or something
harvest
like.
day or times when, you know, folks, handicapped folks want to use it. That's kind of a public discussion process. I haven't worked that one out, but I think it might be easier. Then people can park in the outer area as they want to. And there's no reason to move them out. So I wonder if we craft number 9 so it says, you know, a gate with 2 options.
Okay.
Because I don't know if we can decide tonight, and I think we have to hear from the public too.
This all has to be part of the public hearing, but I think it would be good to know if the commission was leaning a certain way on it.
I think the second gate or the one inside is a better idea.
Then at the road.
Yeah, I think having one out the end of the road is gonna be a recipe for trouble.
We'll get a lot more pushback.
Yeah.
Someone's got to shoot
Well, you
people
know,
out of there at
the
7:30 at
Town
night.
of the selectmen will say, take the thing out of
I
there.
just tell them to like, hey, just move to the other side of this, you could still, whatever.
Well, that's actually a pretty good idea, put it down there. If a few people are strong enough, they wanna carry a bucket of herring up, all the way up that road, more power to them. What are you gonna do?
Yeah.
You can't, you know, it's the lesser of two evils, I think, really.
Yeah.
Yeah, we're hoping for really good compliance. I think people realize, that, you know, we can't catch fish like we used to. And so I think you're gonna have very good compliance, I believe. There'll be bad apples for sure.
Yeah.
Well,
It's not-
hopefully,
not
if you
like
provide the opportunity, if you have certain harvest days or whatever to do it, if you can provide the opportunity, hopefully,
Yeah.
that'll be sufficient. But
Yeah.
you're never gonna get everybody.
Okay.
Okay? How are we feeling?
That was the only substantial comment I had on the latest draft. Everything else was kind of minor. The
Yeah.
water control plan, I think you absolutely married the 2 sets of language that was around before.
I only cut and pasted.
I know.
I just
think
made sure it was in the right
I
place.
think I wrote all that stuff like
Yeah,
4
you
years
did.
ago.
I only cut and
So
pasted.
where is the current version of that right now?
So I printed it out for you. It wasn't in your packet, it was in the printouts that I put on your table today. It looks like this, John.
Okay. Sure it's here somewhere.
Oh, actually, was it paperclip to the back of the Bell's Neck plan? No, because that was the old one.
That was old. This one I think you just did recently.
Somebody can have mine if they want it.
Yeah.
So that's what, the last page of the stapled Bell's Neck Land Management Plan needs to be replaced with that guy right there.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Looks pretty good to me.
Oh, so these, I see,
A lot of work you
I
guys
see.
did.
Yeah.
In the middle, you ask about who should be responsible, and I agree. It should be the Department of Natural Resource Director, unless the agent wants to take that on. But I think most towns kind of have the herring run managed by the
That's right.
DNR chief. So I'd clip out that italics and just.
Yeah, I only
Yeah.
put that just to make it stand out for
Yeah,
discussion purposes tonight.
that's the only edit I would have. It is pretty well vetted language. We definitely went over this quite a bit. There might be something we're missing, but I also think it calls somewhere here to review things after a couple of years to see how things go.
Yes, 2029, it's a 5-year plan.
Yeah, so, you know, there'll be a future commission that looks at it and says, okay, what worked well, what didn't work well, and
Mhm.
Okay, so doesn't seem like we have further discussion. There's one more turn of the crank here, right, to integrate what we've discussed.
Yeah, I could do that really quickly, I would think.
Do you want me to take, the comments I sent you guys today were on the draft before this one, and I tracked changes, and I sent you an email today on
Yeah, I
that.
saw it, I
Yeah.
didn't read it.
Yeah, so it's up to you if you want me to take those edits and put them in this one, because in the Dropbox, we have a Word file. I didn't have that Word
Yeah.
file today.
How soon do you think you could do that?
I could probably do it super quickly, because I just did it, and
Alright.
it's really,
If you don't mind, because
yeah,
I could probably do it, but not until next week.
okay, so I'll do it to the file in the Dropbox.
Yep.
That's fine.
I mean, I can email it to you just to
Yep.
make sure we have the right one too, but
Well,
file in the
yeah.
Dropbox should be it.
Yeah, and the only substantial comment I had, it wasn't even an edit, it was a comment on the gate issue.
Yep.
And we just discussed that, and I think we just agreed that let's put both options in there for public comment.
So if we do that and get it back to the commission, say within a week or so, and I get all the appendices attached and so they're just not here. Letting you know, the next meeting in May is very heavy. So I do not recommend putting a public hearing on that. We have a 5 Wednesday month this month, so an option, because I don't know what the June 5th meeting is going to look like too, it could be heavy. I would suggest we have a standalone meeting on the Wednesday, the 29th, which is that 5th Wednesday of the month here, at 6:30, just for the Bell's Neck public comment for the Bell's Neck Land Management Plan. If you think we're going to be ready for that.
Yeah, I don't know why we wouldn't be.
Is that feasible to you?
I'm looking at my calendar right now.
I don't have a problem with that.
Do you want, does the commission want to vote on the final draft document that we are bringing to that meeting on the 15th, just as a final vote of support
I mean, I think we're better off not voting on anything
until the meeting?
until after the public hearing. Now,
That's true.
Now, I think what we need to do is just get a verbal consensus.
Yep.
That that's what we want to move ahead with to public hearing.
Okay.
Well, so, biggest question for me about that day is, it would be best if we had all members of the commission there.
Yes.
So, we're missing one current member now.
Can reach out to him.
But
We still have one vacancy?
we do.
Yeah. Someone notified me the other day asking about a vacancy, so I should probably send them your way.
Yeah, please.
guys.
I mean, I let the selectmen review committee know that
Yep.
they need to help us reach out to find people too.
Okay.
Please, send them my way.
Yep.
Well, I think we should go for it on the 29th. I don't see any,
Is Mark super busy these days? We haven't seen him in a while. Yeah.
29th of May you're talking about?
Yeah.
yep.
Should be all right.
It's a Wednesday, same time. I don't think we should do it with the other stuff we've got going on.
Yeah.
We have some big projects coming next time.
I'm fine with that. It'd be advertised and we'd see, who came out and, as long as the public had a shot at looking at the document.
Yep.
For a little while.
We'll put it in the paper, obviously. I'll try to get it on the main page of the town website, maybe on some of the, media pages or something like that, so it's a little bit more obvious, because we want to have people in the room.
I just have one sort of administrative question. Do we need to give sort of an advance notice to the Board of Selectmen?
I can. I'll also double check that the room's available that night.
Yeah, that may be very important.
It's like a fifth
Yeah, we
Wednesday of the month, there shouldn't be any issue, but.
Yeah.
But yeah, I will let the Board of Selectmen know.
I can, is it Mike? I think Mike McCaskill.
Mike's our liaison. I would say let's not, until we have all the edits done in the next week or so,
Mhm.
then people can request to review the document.
Yeah, I mean, it may even be good politically, just once we have everything in the document, to just give each member of the board a
Yep.
copy of the document.
Yep.
With the notification as to when we plan the public hearing.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
I like it.
All right.
Okay.
Long time, and we're not done yet, I guess, because public hearing there could be some changes.
We're there.
Yeah. Thank you, Amy.
Thank you all.
Yeah, this is great.
So, before we adjourn, on the 8th, well, first of all, town meeting is Monday night, so you know where you all want to be. We don't have any particular business, but there is a article, citizen petition on for chemical treatment
Yep.
prohibition. There's also a model tree bylaw that might be of interest to you. And I'm sure a whole assortment of other things. So that's Monday and likely Tuesday night. Wednesday night, if you want to come, I'm giving a presentation with Russ Norton of the Cape Cod Cooperative Extension about the benefits of native plantings and how to supplement your landscape to gradually incorporate them. So it's going to be at the 204. Very basic. It's meant to be a building series. And I would love assistance in the future.
You're gonna be talking about pollinator plants too?
I'm going to be talking very bare basics about what is actually native, and it's like native to what time in history here. That's how I'm going to start and kind of build on that, because native means so many different things to different people. I'm going to be talking, one of the benefits of natives is their benefit to pollinators versus ornamentals and whatnot. So I touch on that, but it's not going to be the focus. I talk about, I'm going to talk about root structure a little bit, soil stability, other habitat benefits, nutrient stuff. I'm not sure, it's not completely finished. So, can't,
What time?
think it's either 5 or 5:30. I'll email you. At the 204 in the library. So it's the town's trying to educate folks on better practices. So Russ from the Cooperative Extension is really going to talk about the soils and the importance of your soils.
Good.
Lindsay Strode is helping me a little with this one. I'm going to want to partner with other people as we go along.
Very cool, labor of love
Awesome.
on top of everything else you're doing.
I really do like it, though.
Yeah.
So.
I got one quick notice too, Mr. Chair. The Board of Selectmen did vote to have a herring celebration at the West Reservoir on May 19th.
May
It's a
19th?
Sunday, right?
It's a Sunday. They were toying with Mother's Day, and we talked them out of it.
That's a good idea, yeah,
So
really.
it is Sunday. And so it's, I really had hoped to be a cooperative event with the town, but the town this year wants to just kind of wait till next year. So it's more of a, I guess, a Division of Marine Fisheries event. But I'm certainly welcoming the Conservation Commission, Conservation Department, Department of Natural Resources,
Be there if I can.
Harwich Conservation Trust, whoever wants to come by. It's gonna be for just a few hours to just educate the folks to the history of the herring run, the life history of the fish.
Starting what time?
They haven't set a time yet. I think, I'm not sure. I would say probably running for 3 or 4 hours, maybe late morning. The time hasn't been set yet.
10 to 2?
Yeah. I would say,
10 to
people
2?
come out, 10 to 1, 10 to
Yeah.
2.
Yeah.
people tend to dwindle, or even 9 to noon.
Yeah, 3 hours is probably plenty.
I think so you're not doing, they're not serving any. It's really, it's just
Yeah.
educational.
Yep, no fish
It's
being served.
educational, not this
Not gonna have
time.
a fish fry?
No, there was some concern about that, so I think they want to gear up and do it as a real
Yeah.
town celebration next year.
That's cool.
This is more of an education to what's happening, and so I'll have some crew there talking about things, and I'll have a little table set up, and if Conservation Commission members want to sit down as well and talk to the public, I think that's another opportunity.
This will be at the Flume?
Yeah,
Yeah, good.
yeah. And maybe if we have the draft report, it might be good to discuss the draft
Look
report.
at that.
It would-
Timing.
It should be available, yeah, so
Yeah, it'll be available.
that's a good thing.
Good.
So, yeah, all you that really want to eat a few herring that day, I guess you're gonna have to wait.
Well,
All right.
enough fun was had for one night.
Anything else?
Okay,
I'll
hearing
make
nothing,
Go
I'll make
right
the
ahead.
I'll move that we adjourn the meeting.
I'll second that.
All those in favor?
Aye, aye.